Well, we heard the big news.
The sad news.
Yesterday morning that the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, has passed away peacefully in her bed. And Gons, I don't know what your reaction to this was when you heard the news. Not to be blue, I'm just being honest about the moment I heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the restroom on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
The alert came through and my heart sank deeply. Not necessarily because I have some sort of emotional connection to the Queen, but because that was the moment that I knew that the next 3 weeks of news coverage would be completely taken over by stories about the Queen.
Yeah.
And indeed, that was the case. Very difficult to sift through news that wasn't about the Queen.
Yeah, I had a bit of a personal. I found out through my wife. I did see she was hospitalized or something like that in the morning. So I knew about that. But my wife's doing a big corporate integration job, and she was supposed to go to Mexico a few weeks ago to help one of the factories transition, and a big gang riot broke out. And so she couldn't send the team. Yeah, it was like a big
the violence in Mexico.
Yeah. It was like the guy in Tijuana was like, hey, everybody stay home, borders shut down, the whole deal.
Yeah, we have not covered that, but the violence in Mexico right now is outrageous.
It's crazy. Yeah. Right at the border. And so she was like, okay, well, I guess it kind of delays everything there. Well, they have another rollover in the UK. They're about to send a bunch of people over there, and the Queen dies. So who knows what's going to happen? She thinks they're going to shut down the country for like 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't think they're going to shut it down for 2 weeks.
What is that? Why would you do that?
I don't know. Just people mourning.
I could see how, maybe the companies she's working with are mourning and don't want to deal with anything or something. Yeah. Very, very big news, of course. I think it's funny because, of course, a lot of people thought that the Queen's been dead for a while. CGI Queen.
Yeah, CGI. Well, she did have that chariot with her digital self in the
hologram Queen. Yeah. So it's been kind of funny on Twitter and other places, like people who definitely have said in the past that Queen's already dead, just sort of completely like forgetting that they said that. And they're like, hey, she's dead now.
Well, I couldn't believe the vitriol, at least on my feed. I was like, wow, these people are mean. Like, what you think of whatever you want about the Queen, but they were just like, wow, man, zero sympathy right there.
Very mean.
No empathy, no sympathy, nothing. Which understandable.
And as the case is very interesting. The Queen herself would have said this. I did watch The Crown. So I think this was part of The Crown. She talks about how the Queen is more of like, a symbol, a character, a thing, not talisman. So much a person. Yeah. More of a talisman, like you said. And so it doesn't matter what she thinks or says or whatever. It's just the fact that she is and can mean anything to anyone is kind of the point of the Queen.
Right.
And so, you gotta give her that. That's a pretty accurate way to describe the position. But yes, pretty brutal. Now,
it was brutal.
We're in an interesting situation. We certainly have a lot of things to say, and we're going to say them. We will not hold back on the things. We are a little bit past sort of the, I don't know what you would call it. I guess unnecessary mean-spiritedness when it comes to the Queen. We have lots of listeners and producers, Gons, who we have received lots of emails in the past when we talk about the Queen. Listeners and producers who are a bit defensive of the Queen, usually UK people. It's easy in America to kind of not understand the true meaning of the Queen or whatever, or the death of the Queen or the life of the Queen or whatever. And lots of UK people who listen and produce this show are having a much different experience than we are. But the good news is that the American media is doing it all for us. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. This top of this episode has been kind of Basil heavy. I apologize, people. Gonz is going to get in here soon. But Vice News. I have 2 articles I want to just read next to each other and to show the breadth and the width that is the American media's response to the death of the Queen. And I think we can figure this out together, Gonz. Starting, vicenews.com. QAnon is losing it over the Queen's death is the headline.
Okay, Vice.
QAnon is losing it. Despite spending years claiming she'd already been executed, QAnon on Thursday openly celebrated the news of Queen Elizabeth's death. I've talked
QAnon
about it in the
the
past.
Person or
Yes, thank you. We've talked about it before. I don't want to harp on it now, but it's pretty annoying how they talk about QAnon as like one cohesive entity when a true understanding of QAnon would very quickly dispel the idea that QAnon is some sort of unified front. But anyways, there you go. Quote, "May she burn in hell for eternity," one QAnon account on Telegram wrote moments after the Queen's death was announced. Quote, "So happy the evil witch is dead," another wrote. Again, Telegram is their main source for this whole thing.
And the reporters are the ones that sent those messages so they can report it.
Exactly. A Telegram channel, we've seen this before. A reporter can join the Telegram channel, post whatever they want, and then report it as someone posted this in the Telegram channel. But okay. I digress. For years, the Queen has been a central figure in the QAnon conspiracy as part of a cast of elites who followers believe are operating a child sex trafficking ring that traverses the globe. In the hours before her death, some referenced wild QAnon conspiracies about the Queen participating in satanic rituals. Ooh, wild. And drinking the blood of children. Quote, "They're preparing the black mass and the baby buffet as we sit here," adding, quote, "I think you'll find she's already gone." Another echoed the sentiment that the Queen has been dead for a while. Quote, "She's been dead. They had to find the right time to break the news." On the Great Awakening, a QAnon message board, users shared similar conspiracies. Quote, "She died several months ago. Remember, she went through a transition or whatever. That was the embalming process. CGI and body doubles are in place." Others pushed the even more fantastical claim that the Queen was merely a computer-generated mirage, a conspiracy that QAnon has also pushed. I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. Also pushed about President Joe Biden since he took office last year. Quote, "She has been CGI for a while now. Wonder why it is being announced now," one Telegram user wrote. Over on a QAnon message board, one user wrote about a picture released last week of the Queen shaking hands with the newly elected British Prime Minister, Liz Truss.
Woo,
There she is. Quote, "That old lady doesn't even look like the Queen. Lol." Lol. Another member of the forum said, quote, "Maybe that's the cleaning woman, but that isn't the woman who has been playing the Queen." The Queen has been a central figure in the QAnon conspiracies from the very beginning. On November 5th, 2017, a week after the first Q drop was posted on 4chan, the anonymous author of the Q drops referenced the monarch. Quote, "Who is the Queen of England? How long in power? With power comes corruption. What happened to Diana?" the author wrote, going on to call her evil, corrupt, and part of a secret society. The Queen next surfaced within the QAnon world in 2019 when then members of the conspiracy movement claimed that the Queen was executed following a military tribunal because she had Princess Diana murdered after Diana learned of a blackmail scheme involving convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Remember the military tribunal period?
Yeah.
Still going on.
I thought it's still happening. It's
still happening. The Pope, the Hillary was there. I think
they're taking out all the bankers. The cleanup job.
QAnon also pushed aspects of older conspiracy theory about the Anunnaki, or reptiles, who believers say have controlled humankind since ancient times. These supposed reptiles include George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger, former President Bill Clinton, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Bob Hope, and Queen Elizabeth. Bob Hope. You got to throw Bob Hope in there.
Bob Hope is thrilled that he's on this list.
He's on the list.
These other people.
A claim many within the QAnon community referenced in comments on Thursday. And then they just give some more quotes from the Telegram channel about her being a lizard.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Like all major global events, QAnon followers also believe that the death of the Queen is a trigger for the coming storm.
Oh, that storm's been brewing for years now. Yeah, it's coming, baby.
It will bring about Donald Trump's return to power and see global elites being brought to justice. Quote, "Let's go. It's all in the plan. Be ready," one member of a QAnon Telegram channel wrote, while another added, quote, "The Queen announcement is the beginning. Let's go." Another added that this will trigger the, quote, 10 days of darkness that the Q predicted would happen when Trump's return was imminent.
You know, that is a thing. That is a thing in the internet culture right now. They all scream, "Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go."
That's the kids, man. That's the Gen Z thing. Of course, here's the fun part. Of course, QAnon has its own monarch, Romana Didulo.
Oh, that's why we're seeing her in the news cycle more recently again.
Started popping up, man. Yeah. Who is the self-proclaimed Queen of Canada. Last November, she told her followers that Queen Elizabeth II was already dead. Almost done. I'm skipping down to the end. For most members of the QAnon community online, however, the Queen's death was a moment to celebrate, with many pointing out that she died 1,776 days since Q first posted, suggesting some significance in the date of her death. That was an interesting one. Did we do the math on that?
I'm trying to do it right now. Let me do it.
Yeah, so quick. November 5th, I think it was, 2017.
November, until the 5th of November, of course.
Oh, right. If that is 1776 days, that's a pretty big coincidence.
Bold claim. Okay, let's try.
Pretty big coincidence.
November 5th.
While you look that up, others were simply overjoyed at the thought that the supposed reptilian imposter had left the planet. Quote, "A lizard gone, planet Earth is having a celebration," one poster wrote. That's the end. So Vice, while everybody else is doing sort of biopics about the Queen's life, what she meant, how cool she was, her sense of style, a lot of her sense of style. I did not know she was so fashionable. Vice coming out with the QAnon report on the Queen's death.
All right, let's see. We're going to add 1776 days, and let's calculate. That brings us to September 16th of 2022.
Oh, not quite. Not quite. Then, huh?
Well, you got to adjust the, it's a debate, much like the all kinds of, it's a debate about when the first QAnon post was, you got to
we were actually talking about before the show. We remember Q being a thing before November 5th, 2017.
I think so. Well, you know what it was? We do have, February of 2017. Leading up to Q, there was almost a year or so of like Pizzagate and just all that kind of stuff, almost like a primer to the media picking up Q almost, I don't know, a year and a half later. So kind of hard to say exactly, but sure. Yeah, I guess you can.
Okay. They didn't quite nail it as closely as we thought.
Yeah.
Or as the Q people thought, I guess. Okay. So that's very interesting. Also very interesting. Did we mention that it was this Liz Truss's second day in office that the Queen passed?
I did not mention it, but she took office, and then the next day the Queen passes on. Allegedly.
What a coincidence that is.
The passing of the baton in a way. Liz to Liz. The other thing I thought was funny was, part of Liz Truss's thing moving in as the Prime Minister of the UK, she did not pick anybody who was a white male to be part of her government.
Cabinet.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just think it's funny. The irony maybe of declaring that and then
And then the day after
she takes office, there's a new king, a white male as king of England.
They couldn't let that go for very long.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. But maybe that's the setup to do the quote unquote tear down of the royalty, as part of the awakening process, as part of the PSYOP, so.
We've got more on Liz Truss and the World Economic Forum later on in the show.
Yeah, which by the way, since you mentioned it, we did there was an article that just published right before we went live here from where is this? Belfast Telegraph. The headline, I'll just read the headline. Charles tells Prime Minister that mother's death was, quote, moment I have been dreading. So the King Charles met with Liz Truss, and there's a little photo op there. But anyway, we'll get to Liz Truss a little bit later.
All right. Now, real quick, I'm not going to read the whole thing, just giving you a flavor. Heading over to foxnews.com.
Oh, great.
This is to compare, contrast, show the variety of responses that you can get in the American media. Foxnews.com. Tucker Carlson, Queen Elizabeth II, is being attacked by some because she lived in a better time.
So, wait, she's okay. All right, Tucker is defending
Tucker.
Tucker and Vice are in bed, or what's happening here?
You just wait.
Okay.
Queen Elizabeth II died today in Scotland, as you likely know, at the age of 96. She was the longest serving monarch in British history.
By the way, 70 years and 7 months into her reign.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's something.
Yeah.
That's better than the non-1776 number. She was born in one world and died in another. It was not easy to maintain your dignity while living in the public eye. Most of us could not pull it off for an afternoon. Queen Elizabeth did it for more than 70 years. Quote, I want to ask you all, she wrote shortly after her coronation in 1953, quote, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day, to pray that God give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I shall be making, and that I may faithfully serve him and you all the days of my life. For the most part, she did just that. Tucker, big fan of the Queen here. And that was not a small achievement given the period she lived in. The week that Elizabeth was coronated, Edmund Hillary, a British subject from New Zealand, a beekeeper, became the first man in history to summit Mount Everest. The achievement seemed symbolic at the time. Britain on top of the world. But in fact, Britain was already over, whether the British knew it or not. To this day, Britain claims to have won both of the 20th century's world wars, but together, they destroyed that nation forever. Oh no. I'm going to skip in a second. Here we go. Continuing. After victory came humiliation. The empire evaporated, and along with it, Britain's self-confidence and ultimately its self-respect. It's hard to believe now, but the Britain wasn't always a regional banking center / refugee camp. It was a real place with a history and a language and a culture and a genuinely remarkable people. A country in the North Atlantic the size of Alabama that somehow took over the world and ruled it, and this is where it turns, and ruled it with decency. Unmatched by any empire in human history.
Hold on. What year was her
coronation?
Yeah, coronation.
1953.
Okay, because that's 7 years. Okay, all right. Doing some math.
Got it.
My calculator is wrong here, but okay. Yeah.
The British Empire was not perfect.
Oh, no, it's not wrong. Wait a minute.
Okay.
70 years would be 2023. So even that's who's saying these things anyway.
It was not quite 70 years. It was approaching 70.
Yeah.
Well, her coronation is different from when she actually took over. She was coronated 9 months after she officially became queen.
So but that still doesn't make sense. All right, continue.
I don't know. The British Empire was not perfect, but it was far more humane than any other ever. It's gone now, barely even remembered. Queen Elizabeth II was the last living link to a truly Great Britain. Today on social media, the usual ghouls celebrated her death. Quote, may her pain be excruciating. A Carnegie Mellon professor called Uju Anya wrote on Twitter of the Queen, quote, may she die in agony. Various know-nothings in the media, including a columnist at The Atlantic and a couple of, shots fired.
Whoa.
And a couple of employees at NBC News seconded that thought. Quote, "The British Empire was evil," they wrote, apparently totally unaware of what came after it. And speaking of, what did come after the British Empire? How, for example, did Africa fare after the British left? Let's see. Uganda got Idi Amin, who was a cannibal. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe and then became the poorest country on the planet under the racist lunatic Robert Mugabe. As of tonight, South Africa is still being run into the ground by an incompetent kleptocratic called Cyril Ramaphosa. So it's hard to see any of that as an improvement because it was not an improvement. Sorry, Atlantic Magazine. And now, of course, the entire continent of Africa has a new master, the Chinese government. China is the latest colonial power to dominate Africa, and it goes into that quite a bit. Then I'm going to skip down quite a bit here. So despite what they may be claiming on Twitter tonight, the British Empire was more than just genocide. In fact, the British did not commit genocide, except they arguably against the Dutch during the Boer War. The British did give the world the Magna Carta, the habeas corpus, and free speech. They helped end the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the ritual murder of widows in India. The British Empire spread Protestant Christianity to the entire world. Well, Spain helped quite a bit, but okay. It published some of the greatest literature ever written and produced the finest manufactured goods ever made anywhere at any time, including now. Can you name a single manufactured good from England, Gons? Because I cannot. I'm sure they exist. I cannot think of any. Gin, crumpets? Maybe? Crumpets and gin. It was an impressive place run by impressive people. We will see many empires going forward, but we will never see one so benign.
Oh, wow. Spoken like a true paycheck
Tucker
receiver.
Carlson bending the knee and kissing the ring.
Your Highness.
Your Highness.
By the way, so the 70 years, 7 months is from when George VI passed away. Yeah, so it does make sense.
She did technically become queen the second he passed.
Right. Yeah.
The people who, and that's true because it's true. The people who would like.
That's true because it's true.
You know, it's hard to argue with that.
Tucker Carlson. Mainstream media mouthpiece.
That's true because it's true.
Come on, man.
The people who would like
a little better than that.
The people who would like to run the world in a far harsher way would like to make certain that you don't know it. And so they destroy the evidence that ever existed. Here they are tearing down a statue of British philanthropist in the UK 2 years ago. Destroy the statue, erase the memory. That's why they're doing it. Slander the ruler, discredit the entire period she lived in. And that's exactly why they're attacking Queen Elizabeth tonight. Not because she was a bad person. She wasn't a bad person, but because she lived during a better time.
Oh my gosh, Tucker Carlson, what are you on, buddy?
Pretty crazy, huh?
I'm going to try this one with my wife. That's true because it's true.
Yeah, that'll be wonderful. Make sure to have a recorder going because I would love to talk about content. And I skipped a whole bunch where he just very explicitly says, like, he names a lot of the colonies of England. The ones like, yeah, they would suck without England. It's the best. India, way better because of England. Kabul then compares it to the United States Afghanistan war, which is a weird comparison. So there you go. Yeah, Tucker Carlson. I don't know what he's trying to get out of the royal family, but he either, or maybe it's a Murdoch thing. Maybe it's coming down from the top.
Merovingian bloodline, you know?
Yeah, well, Murdoch is definitely in the lizard people club.
Yeah.
So, it might just be part of that. It's just really astonishing the way that Tucker Carlson. Now, look, in his sort of number one motivator is just opposing the woke crowd. And it's mostly the woke who are saying, that she was a bad person and not quite going the lizard people route. That's the Q. The Q is going lizard people route.
Yeah.
The woke are going genocide colonizer route. And so that leaves Tucker Carlson,
the high road, baby. Tucker
the high road, singing the praises not just of the Queen, but of the British colonial empire as a whole throughout history. Very interesting kissing the ring there from Tucker. So, our UK listeners, don't think that all of America is just attacking the Queen and calling her a lizard person, because you got Tucker Carlson on your side.
Well, Trump had something to say to her. Bye-bye. That's it. Also, Biden had a 33-second presentation video from Sky News. And
weird how often that happens.
Yeah, 33 seconds. A weird clip. I'll play the 33 seconds straight off of YouTube now, and I'll describe what's happening because words aren't spoken the whole time. It's a picture of Joe. It's not a picture, video. Joe's signing something on a table. There's a picture of the Queen there. And there's Jill on the side, and he's signing. He's writing something in the notebook. And he's continuing to write. This is a 33-second writing.
She's a great lady.
She's a great lady.
So delighted we got to meet her.
So delighted.
We were joking with her. She actually provided.
Yes, I'll take you up, but thank you.
So Joe starts talking about how she was a great lady, and then he starts talking about how he was joking.
He's kind of choking up too a little bit.
Is he? I don't know if that's what it is. Maybe
a
I don't
little
know.
bit. You can. Oh, he was putting on, of course, a somber tone.
Somber tone, sure, but he starts talking about
a little quiver.
He starts talking about how he was joking, and that's when Jill puts his hand behind Joe and says, "Let's move along.
Let's not talk about the jokes you were telling the Queen.
You were making with the Queen." Which is hilarious. He's like, we were joking. Here, let me play it again. It's a funny, it's a funny moment. That so this is when he starts talking.
She was a great lady. We're so delighted we got to meet her. And we were joking with her. She actually provided. Can I walk over?
Yes, I'll take you up, but thank
That's funny. Oh, he was about to go off on a Joe Biden story about the Queen. And he gets handled.
Oh, handled.
That's what he's getting. He's getting handled by his wife there.
That is hilarious.
I mean, everybody can understand that.
But also, I wonder. I'm curious what he was going to say. What was he joking about with the lizard Queen?
I know the joke. Yeah, I bet it was something about being old.
Maybe, or like everyone's going to think you're dead, and then you'll come back. As a little gecko.
And I was joking, saying, isn't it funny how we're both holograms and not real?
Anyway, so that was kind of funny.
Good times.
Yeah, so of course, everyone is mourning. Others are showing their mean spirit, I suppose. Yeah. Lots of flavors out there regarding this. And of course, you talk about British royalty, and there's lots of, the Vice article mentioned the Anunnaki, old conspiracies about the Anunnaki, but it goes pretty deep into Arthur and all kinds of mythology.
Yeah,
but let's talk about the successor here.
Yeah, because, I was looking at this story. This story goes really well with our Liz Truss section, but maybe we'll just let the through line play through the show.
It continues on. Yeah. So this is from the telegraph.co.uk, and the headline is Prince Charles to launch Great Reset project to rebuild planet in wake of coronavirus. Now, this was published in May of 2020. Okay, so all those people saying, Great Reset is just a random, QAnon conspiracy.
Conspiracy theory.
Well, the Telegraph said it in 2020. This is before it picked up steam in sort of an alt mainstream way.
Well, and this is a relevant article. We may have actually done this article.
We could have.
On the show at the time. But this is very relevant because, again, as the Queen's passing dominates everything, all headlines, all push notifications, all aggregated news lists. It's all about the Queen. One aspect of that is talking about Prince Charles, who is now King Charles III. What kind of leader will King Charles III be? People don't know about King Charles III. Some people like King Charles III. It's on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
People wondering what to expect. And it's hilarious because It literally, he told us what he's about in 2020, in May of 2020.
That's what I was going to say. It's 2 or 3 months. Yeah, into the lockdowns and everything.
2 months after coronavirus, the lockdown started, he comes out, Prince Charles, to launch Great Reset project to rebuild planet in wake of coronavirus. He's a Great Reset evangelist, if not, literal king now of making the Great Reset happen.
It's interesting too, because the header image here has Prince Charles talking at a podium, and there's some kind of
logo,
halo. Yeah, it's a logo or something, but it's a halo shape and it's kind of rainbow colored.
Yeah,
so it's
very interesting,
very woke.
Yeah, and so of course we mentioned Liz Truss, and we'll get on with some more Liz Truss stuff after the break. But Liz Truss appearing on the World Economic Forum website, people wondering what King Charles III will be like. He literally told us at the beginning of the pandemic he was going to do a great reset. I mean, that's starting to line up quite well for old Klausy over there.
I'll just read 2 paragraphs from that article from 2020 just to get an idea. The Prince of Wales will call on world leaders to capitalize on the, quote, unique but narrow window, end quote, to put, quote, planet and people first, end quote, in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic as he launches a, quote unquote, Great Reset project. The Prince is to co-host an event with the founder of the World Economic Forum to bring about a quote unquote green recovery, encouraging businesses and politicians to ensure they, quote, build back better.
Oh, good.
As they cope with the repercussions of the COVID-19 crisis. And it mentions Klaus Schwab and it goes into the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it was straight up laid out in front of us in mainstream news articles like this from the Telegraph. So
and that connection, I mean, the timing is incredible. Liz Truss becomes prime minister. Very next day, Queen passes. One Liz passes while one ascends. And that leaves Liz Truss, WEF fan, and King Charles III now promising to bring about the Great Reset.